The Sunshine State is burning under the weight of its own housing bubble. What was once America's hottest real estate paradise is now spiraling into a full-blown crisis. Across Florida, home prices are plunging by tens of thousands of dollars, inventories are exploding, and desperate sellers are cutting deals that would have been unthinkable just 2 years ago. Families crushed by $8,000 insurance bills, $3,000 mortgages, and endless HOA fees are walking away. Analysts warn 2026 could deliver another brutal collapse, erasing billions in equity. The Sunshine State's dream homes are quickly turning into the nation's most shocking housing nightmare. Number 10. Manatee County. Florida's housing market is already cracking, and Manatee County stands out as one of the most battered. In 2025, the median home price here has slid from $525,000 in 2022 to about $480,000, a drop of nearly 9%, with economists warning the decline could accelerate into 2026. Inventory has ballooned more than 65% since last year, flooding the market with unsold properties. Homes that once sold in bidding wars within days now languish for an average of 74 days, and nearly 4 out of 10 listings are slashing prices just to attract offers. The financial burden on homeowners is brutal. Insurance premiums have doubled in many coastal zones, soaring to $6,000 to $10,000 annually, while HOA fees in popular subdivisions often top $400 per month. Families earning the county's median household income of around $63,000 cannot shoulder monthly housing costs that now stretch beyond $4,000 when mortgages, insurance, and fees are combined. Investors who flooded the Bradenton and Gulf Coast market during the boom are retreating, dumping vacation rentals and leaving neighborhoods dotted with "for sale" signs. Construction, once a symbol of relentless growth, is grinding to a halt. New permits are down nearly 30% year over year, signaling developers are bracing for deeper declines. Mortgage rates lingering above 7% have only tightened the vice, driving potential buyers to the sidelines. Add in Florida's growing storm risk, rising flood zone costs, and stricter lender requirements, and Manatee County is trapped in a vicious cycle of falling demand and mounting expenses. Analysts warn this is just the beginning. If current trends continue, Manatee could see another 10 to 15% price collapse by late 2026, wiping out billions in local equity. The once hyped Gulf Coast paradise has turned into a cautionary tale, where the Florida dream home now feels more like a financial nightmare. Number 9. Ocala. Deep in central Florida's horse country, Ocala is unraveling under the weight of a housing market collapse that nobody expected. Once touted as an affordable inland refuge, Ocala's median home price has dropped from $315,000 in 2022 to around $285,000 in 2025, a staggering 10% slide. Inventory is at its highest level in over a decade, with active listings surging more than 70% year over year, while homes sit on the market for 85 days or longer. The buyers who once fled coastal cities in search of cheaper land are vanishing, leaving behind overbuilt subdivisions and half-finished communities on Ocala's outskirts. The economic mismatch is glaring. Median household income hovers at $54,000, yet mortgage costs on even modest homes are pushing families past the breaking point. With interest rates near 7%, the monthly payment for a $285,000 home now exceeds $2,300, not including soaring insurance premiums that average $3,500 annually, even inland. Investors who bought in bulk during the pandemic boom are now exiting fast, dumping properties at discounts of $20,000 to $40,000 just to cash out. Rental markets, once Ocala's safety net, are also cracking. Average rents are hovering near $1,700 a month, up 40% from 2019. But vacancies are climbing as tenants move in with family or relocate out of state. Meanwhile, Ocala's new construction frenzy has backfired. Builders are pulling permits down 25% year over year, while abandoned construction sites scatter across Marion County. This oversupply ensures prices will remain under heavy pressure through 2026. What makes Ocala especially fragile is its reliance on retirees and fixed-income households. Rising property taxes, averaging $3,000 per year, and escalating utility costs have forced many to put their homes on the market, further swelling inventory. Analysts warn Ocala could face another 12 to 18% decline in the next year, making it one of Florida's most dangerous housing traps. For families who thought Ocala was their affordable escape, 2026 could turn it into one of the state's most painful busts. Number 8. Pasco County. North of Tampa, Pasco County has transformed from a suburban growth hub into one of Florida's most vulnerable housing markets. The median home price has tumbled from $400,000 in 2022 to about $360,000 in 2022-2025, down nearly 10%, and forecasts show the slide deepening into 2026. Inventory levels have soared nearly 80% in just a year, with more than 3,500 active listings crowding the market. Sellers are chopping prices aggressively, with 45% of listings seeing reductions. Homes that once sparked bidding wars are now sitting an average of 90 days unsold. The math for buyers is devastating. Pasco's median household income of $65,000 simply can't keep pace with inflated housing costs. Even at the reduced price of $360,000, a typical mortgage at 7% interest pushes payments above $2,600 a month, excluding insurance and taxes. Insurance premiums have surged to $5,000 to $8,000 annually, wiping out any sense of affordability. HOA fees, which range from $250 to $500 per month in sprawling subdivisions, are draining budgets further. Families who stretched thin during the boom years are now listing their homes to escape crushing costs. Pasco's population boom, which brought more than 120,000 new residents in the last decade, has reversed course. Outmigration is climbing as families seek cheaper housing in the Carolinas, Georgia, and Tennessee. Construction permits have dropped by 35% year over year, leaving developers nervous and projects stalled mid-build. Investors who speculated on short-term rentals near the Gulf Coast are dumping properties, flooding the market with unsold inventory. Tampa Bay's cooling market is dragging Pasco with it, and analysts predict another 12 to 15% decline in 2026. With affordability destroyed, insurance skyrocketing, and migration slowing, Pasco County is shaping up to be one of Florida's epicenters for a dramatic housing collapse. Number 7. Fort Myers. Fort Myers, once a poster child for Florida's pandemic housing boom, is now spiraling into one of the most dramatic busts in the state. In 2022, the median home price peaked near $430,000. By 2025, it has crashed to $370,000, a jaw-dropping 14% decline in just 3 years. Inventory has surged 90%, with thousands of unsold homes clogging the market. Nearly half of active listings are marked with multiple price cuts, some slashed by $50,000 or more. The affordability crisis is ripping through the local economy. With median household income stuck around $62,000, buyers can't touch a $370,000 home at 7% mortgage rates, where monthly payments soar to $2,700 before taxes and insurance. Insurance premiums are crippling, averaging $8,000 to $12,000 per year in this hurricane-prone Gulf Coast region. Add in HOA fees pushing $350 monthly, and families are spending over $4,000 a month just to hold onto their homes. Many are choosing to walk away. Fort Myers' rental market is buckling too. Average rent hovers near $2,200, up 45% since 2019, yet vacancies are rising as residents flee to more affordable inland towns. Construction, which exploded during the boom, has ground to a halt. Permits have dropped more than 40% year over year, and unfinished developments dot the landscape. Investors who once banked on endless tourism and population growth are exiting en masse, further destabilizing prices. Natural disaster risk has magnified the crash. After Hurricane Ian's devastation, flood insurance premiums skyrocketed, with some homeowners paying $5,000 extra annually. Lenders are tightening requirements, shrinking the buyer pool further. Analysts now predict another 15 to 20% decline in Fort Myers by late 2026, turning this once-hyped paradise into ground zero for Florida's housing crash. Families who dreamed of Gulf sunsets are waking up to financial nightmares with no recovery in sight. Number 6. Lakeland. Sitting halfway between Tampa and Orlando, Lakeland exploded during the pandemic as buyers fled major cities in search of affordability. But by 2025, that dream is unraveling fast. The median home price, which peaked around $330,000 in 2022, has slipped to $290,000, an 11% drop that analysts say could worsen in 2026. Inventory has surged by nearly 70% year over year, with over 2,000 homes now sitting unsold. What's shocking is how fast demand evaporated. Homes that sold in under 3 weeks just 2 years ago are now lingering on the market for 95 days on average. The financial strain is brutal. Lakeland's median household income of $55,000 is no match for mortgage payments topping $2,200 a month on even modest homes, especially with interest rates hovering near 7%. Insurance bills, once manageable, are climbing into the $4,000 to $6,000 annual range, and HOA fees in some newer developments average $250 to $350 monthly. For families on tight budgets, these extra costs push total housing expenses past $3,500 per month, choking out demand. Builders who flooded Polk County with new developments are now paying the price. Construction permits have fallen nearly 30% compared to 2023, and half-finished subdivisions are starting to scar the landscape. Investors, once confident in Lakeland's affordable alternative status, are bailing out, slashing prices by $20,000 to $50,000 per property just to unload inventory. Rental markets aren't saving the day either. Average rents hover near $1,800 a month, up nearly 35% since 2019. But vacancies are rising as tenants seek cheaper housing in surrounding rural towns. The real kicker is Lakeland's identity as a commuter hub. With Tampa and Orlando also cooling, fewer buyers see Lakeland as a smart spillover market. Analysts warn prices could fall another 12 to 15% in 2026, wiping out much of the equity gained during the boom. For residents who thought they'd found stability in the middle ground of Florida, Lakeland is shaping up to be a cautionary tale. An affordable dream turned into a financial trap. Number 5. Port St. Lucie. Once celebrated as one of Florida's fastest-growing housing markets, Port St. Lucie is now buckling under the weight of its own expansion. In 2022, the median home price soared to nearly $400,000, fueled by pandemic migration and investor buying. But by 2025, that number has fallen to $355,000, an 11% decline, and industry experts warn the market could slip another 15% by late 2026. Inventory has exploded by nearly 75% year over year, with thousands of homes sitting unsold. Price cuts are now rampant, with 40% of listings slashed, some by as much as $60,000. The affordability crisis is glaring. Port St. Lucie's median household income is only $61,000, yet mortgage payments on a $355,000 home at 7% interest exceed $2,500 per month, not counting insurance and taxes. Insurance premiums, especially near the coast, are averaging $6,000 to $9,000 annually, while HOA fees in new master-planned communities regularly top $400 a month. Altogether, many families face housing expenses over $4,000 monthly, an unsustainable figure in a city once marketed as affordable Florida. Construction, which once defined Port St. Lucie's growth, is grinding to a halt. Building permits have dropped by 35% year over year, and investors who banked on endless demand are dumping properties en masse. Short-term rental investors are particularly panicked, as tourism growth has slowed and occupancy rates have fallen below 60%, slashing profitability. The rental market is equally stressed. Average rents, once climbing, have plateaued around $2,100 per month, while vacancies tick upward. Combine that with rising property taxes averaging $4,200 a year, and the strain is visible across the community. Analysts warn Port St. Lucie may become a poster child for overbuilding, where rapid growth collided head-on with affordability collapse. By 2026, this Treasure Coast boomtown could be staring at one of Florida's ugliest housing busts. Number 4. Osceola County. Tied closely to the Orlando metro, Osceola County is experiencing a housing collapse that reflects the broader slowdown across Central Florida. In 2022, median home prices in Osceola soared to $375,000, driven by suburban demand and tourism spillover. By 2025, those prices have slipped to $330,000, a 12% decline, with analysts predicting another 10 to 15% loss by 2026. Inventory has surged more than 80% year over year, leaving over 3,000 homes sitting on the market. Price cuts are everywhere. Nearly 45% of listings have been reduced, some by $50,000 or more. The affordability crisis is stark. With a median household income around $58,000, buyers are stretched thin. A $330,000 home at 7% mortgage rates requires monthly payments of nearly $2,400, excluding insurance and taxes. Factor in annual insurance premiums averaging $5,000 to $8,000 and HOA fees of $250 to $400 monthly, and total housing costs can exceed $3,800 per month. Many families are trapped in financial quicksand. The local economy adds another layer of volatility. Osceola's housing boom was fueled by Orlando's tourism and service jobs. But with tourism slowing and layoffs creeping into hospitality, demand is weakening fast. Investors who bet on steady Airbnb cash flow are now unloading units at steep discounts as occupancy rates have fallen below 55%. Construction activity is also collapsing. Building permits have dropped 40% year over year, and developers are shelving projects once touted as affordable family communities. The result is a market oversupplied with homes that buyers simply cannot afford. By 2026, Osceola could be among the worst hit in Central Florida. With plummeting demand, skyrocketing costs, and over-reliance on tourism-driven income, the county faces a perfect storm that could wipe out billions in equity. What was once one of Florida's hottest housing frontiers now looks like a looming crash zone. Number 3. Cape Coral. Few cities in Florida showcase the speed of this housing meltdown like Cape Coral. Once nicknamed the waterfront wonderland, its housing market has turned into a nightmare. The median home price, which reached nearly $420,000 in 2022, has fallen to $360,000 in 2025, a crushing 14% decline in just 3 years. Inventory has skyrocketed more than 85% year over year, leaving over 4,000 active listings crowding the market. Nearly half of all sellers are cutting prices, with reductions averaging $40,000 to $60,000 per property. Homes that once sold within a week are now languishing for over 100 days on average. The financial reality for homeowners is devastating. Cape Coral's median household income sits around $65,000, yet mortgage payments on a $360,000 home at 7% interest exceed $2,700 a month. Add in insurance premiums of $8,000 to $12,000 annually, and monthly costs skyrocket past $4,200. Many households simply can't survive these bills. The city's canal-side homes, once marketed as dream properties, now carry flood insurance premiums that have doubled or tripled since 2020. For many, what was once paradise has become financially unlivable. The overbuilding boom has backfired spectacularly. Builders pumped thousands of new units into the market between 2020 and 2023, and now those homes are sitting unsold. Construction permits are down more than 40% year over year, and developers are walking away from projects. Investors who poured into Cape Coral during the pandemic for short-term rentals are unloading properties at fire sale prices as rental occupancy rates plunge below 60%. Natural disaster risk has only magnified the pain. After Hurricane Ian's devastation, Cape Coral became ground zero for insurance hikes, pushing many middle-class families to the brink. Analysts predict prices could slide another 15 to 20% by 2026, making Cape Coral one of the most dangerous housing markets in Florida. The waterfront wonderland, is drowning in debt and overvaluation, with no rescue in sight. Number 2. St. Petersburg. Once celebrated for its artsy downtown and booming waterfront condos, St. Petersburg is now spiraling into a housing crash. The median home price peaked around $450,000 in 2022, but has slid to $390,000 in 2022. 2025, a sharp 13% decline. Inventory has jumped nearly 90% in just 1 year, with more than 5,000 listings crowding Pinellas County's market. Nearly 50% of sellers have slashed asking prices, some by as much as $70,000, as homes sit unsold for an average of 95 days. The affordability mismatch is glaring. St. Petersburg's median household income of $67,000 cannot keep pace with $390,000 homes financed at 7% rates, which require mortgage payments of nearly $2,800 a month. Insurance premiums in coastal neighborhoods now average $7,000 to $10,000 annually, while HOA fees for condos and planned communities often exceed $500 per month. Altogether, many households are staring at monthly housing costs north of $4,500. The city's reliance on tourism and retirees makes it especially vulnerable. Short-term rental investors who once flooded the condo market are abandoning ship, with occupancy rates dipping below 55% in 2025. New condo developments downtown, once sold out before breaking ground, now sit half-empty, with developers offering incentives like free HOA for a year just to attract buyers. Construction permits have dropped more than 35% year-over-year, signaling a collapse in confidence. Outmigration is adding fuel to the fire. Families tired of high costs are relocating to cheaper states, leaving an oversupply of homes behind. Analysts warn that prices in St. Petersburg could tumble another 12 to 18% by 2026, erasing billions in equity. Once a magnet for coastal dreamers, St. Petersburg is now a warning sign of Florida's collapsing market. Number 1. Clearwater. Clearwater, a city that perfectly illustrates Florida's housing crisis. The median home price, which soared to $460,000 in 2022, has dropped to $395,000 in 2022. 2025, a punishing 14% decline. Inventory has surged by 95% year-over-year, flooding the market with more than 4,500 unsold properties. Price cuts are now the rule, not the exception, with over 55% of listings slashed, some by $80,000 or more. For the average household earning around $64,000, buying here is nearly impossible. A $395,000 home financed at 7% interest equals mortgage payments of nearly $2,900 a month, not including property taxes and insurance. Annual insurance premiums in this hurricane-exposed coastal city are staggering, averaging $9,000 to $12,000. Condo owners face HOA fees often surpassing $600 per month, pushing total housing costs past $4,800 monthly, levels few families can sustain. Tourism woes compound the crisis. Once a magnet for seasonal visitors, Clearwater's short-term rental occupancy has dipped below 50%, forcing investors to bail out. Dozens of condos and beachfront homes now sit dark, unsold, and price-reduced. Construction activity, once booming, has fallen off a cliff, with permits plunging more than 45% year-over-year. Developers who once bragged about luxury towers along the coast are quietly shelving projects. Clearwater's vulnerability lies in its exposure to both climate risk and overvaluation. Rising sea levels, escalating flood insurance costs, and tightening lender standards have created a perfect storm. Analysts warn Clearwater could see an additional 15 to 20% price crash by 2026, making it one of the hardest-hit housing markets in the nation. What was once marketed as Florida's coastal gem is now becoming a symbol of its collapsing housing dream, a city sinking under the weight of its own housing bubble.